Ministry of Justice of taking unlawful action by protesting over unprecedented violence and safety concerns within prisons. Well, one person who knows firsthand what conditions in prisons can be like is Shaun Attwood. He's a former prisoner and was involved in a prison riot. He joins us now from Guildford. Good afternoon to you, Shaun. What do you make of two prisons within the last 4 weeks being described as run entirely by the prisoners themselves?
This is an exact repeat of what I experienced in America, which we're following with our prison policy here. You've got the rise of the drug gangs in relation to policy and legislation getting pushed through by the private prisons. What I mean by this is prisons used to be for pedos, murderers, rapists, robbers. The private prisons came along. They pushed legislation through to get low-level drug users arrested. Almost 1 million arrests a year in America for weed possession. So that filled the private prisons and the state prison system with addicts. 90% of the guys where I were housed were shooting up heroin and crystal meth. 2/3 had hepatitis C. The Aryan Brotherhood prison gang, the neo-Nazis, the drug gang, decided who lived or died. I had to get used to the sounds of heads getting bashed against toilets, bodies getting thrown around, people getting carried out on stretchers who look like they're dead. And right now, prisons all over the world are completely flooded with spice. Guards are bringing it in, drones are bringing it in, visitors are bringing it in. Until this war on drugs is ended, it's just going to get worse and worse.
The Prison Officers Association was saying to me that it's not just the prison officers who are clearly in solidarity about this walkout, but the prisoners themselves who would be in support of it, because when you've got conditions where prisoners are effectively running riot, their own safety becomes at risk as well. What's your view on that?
Absolutely. I was in a riot myself. What happened was, it's racial gangs in Arizona, whites, blacks, Mexicans, Mexican-Americans. The three other gangs attacked the head of the blacks. The blacks started running up the stairs to protect him. People started picking up mops and brooms, doing ninja moves. A guard comes in with a chemical spray the size of a fire extinguisher, wearing a spacesuit, sprays everybody. 45 guys are fighting. All hell breaks loose. That spray hits you. Snot runs out your nose. Your eyes sting. I had an old-timer cellmate. He said, you've got to wrap a wet towel around your head and blink and blink and blink to get that chemical spray out your eyes because it stings. So it's all getting more and more out of control.
And when you're talking about drugs in prisons, when you were in prison and when you were involved in the riot, did you have a drug problem?
I had a drug problem prior to going to prison, yes. I thought I was a wild and crazy party person doing ecstasy on the weekends. I go into prison where 90% are shooting up heroin and crystal meth, 2/3 had hepatitis C, yellow jaundiced skin, teeth rotting out. It really made me see the horror of drug use. I knew I couldn't change my past. I was ashamed of putting people on that path. So now I resolved to go out and share my story with school kids in the hope they won't get involved in drugs and crime.
We're hearing about the high percentage of people who didn't have a problem with drugs before they went to prison, but they're acquiring it while they're in there. What's your thought on that?
When I was arrested, I thought prisons lock them up, throw away the key. It's pedos, murderers, rapists. When I got in there, I saw the average arrest was a black kid or a Mexican kid with a little bit of weed. That kid comes in, graduates to hard drugs. If it's a white kid, they get neo-Nazi tattoos, swastikas on their foreheads. They make their criminal connections in prison, and by the time they get out, they are proper full-on criminals. Everybody I saw pretty much kept coming back. Arizona's got the hard prisons. They pride themselves on it. According to FBI stats, it's got the highest reoffending and recidivism in the country.
So how do you think policy needs to change in the UK? I know your perspective is mostly from the United States, but how does it need to change here?
Let's look at the countries that are closing prisons down because they've got so much spare capacity. Portugal, Holland, they've got a sensible approach to drugs and drug laws. In the countries that have got the toughest drug laws, America, they've got the biggest drug problems. They've created this huge black market for gangsters, violence from knife crime in London to 10,000 dead in Juarez, Mexico. It all revolves around gangsters competing for this black market profits. Go to Portugal, they had over 100,000 heroin addicts. They decriminalized heroin. The addicts were no longer afraid of getting arrested. They got counseled and they got off the drugs so much that Portugal got the heroin addicts down to less than 50,000, and they were told that if you decriminalise heroin, what kind of examples that set to the kids? Addicts will multiply, they'll be all over the streets, and the complete reverse happened.
OK, so tackling drugs, the key to getting this under control. Shaun Attwood, very good to talk to you. Thank you.
You're welcome.